Please be seated. The court is now back in session. We now continue to hear the testimony of the witness questioned by Ian Sari's defense. However, before I hand over the floor, I'll give the floor to Judge Cartwright to put comments and observations by the bench regarding the ways the questions are posed.
Thank you, President. It may have been misunderstood this morning when the President commented on the manner in which you, Mr. Karnavas, was questioning this witness. The Chamber wishes to make it clear that you are entitled to ask probing and challenging questions. Indeed, it's your duty to do so. But the concern that the trial chamber has is that as a group of professional judges, there's no need to use the sort of emotion that sometimes we see on American television dramas. There's no need for that in the courtroom, and we would appreciate it if you would bear that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Cartwright. I don't think I was being melodramatic, though. Okay, sir, if we could continue where we were. And if we could turn to E1/70.1. This is the transcript from So Hong's testimony on 30th of April, 2012. And we will start with Khmer ERN number 00804559, English 00806503, and French 0080638728. That's where I will start, and we will go for the next few pages. So let me begin. On line 22nd, this will be on page 16 of the English version. The question is, now, you told us that Pong would come and go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He would bring people and take them away as he wished. Do you still stand by that? Answer by So Hong. Yes, I do. I'm continuing. You also told us that Comrade Chiem facilitated or assisted in transporting some individuals that had come to the MFA through Pong, and he would transport them and deliver them someplace else. Do you stand by that? Answer by So Hong. Yes, I do. Question. Do you know whether at that time Comrade Chiem was still working for or attached to Pong's security apparatus? Answer. Yes, I do. Question. All right. So I want to be clear, because perhaps my question wasn't clear. Was Chiem working under the authority of Pong while he was under your authority at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? Answer by So Hong. Yes, Pong was above Chiem. Question. Well, I'm not asking about the hierarchy. What I'm asking you, sir, is this. You've told us that Chiem worked for Pong at one point. You've told us that when Pong would come into the MFA, Chiem would assist him. And now my question is, while Comrade Chiem was at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and although he was your subordinate, was his superior still Pong, at least when it came to security matters? Answer, Pong was still his superior. Question, and would that explain why you've told us that on one occasion you even asked Comrade Chiem if your turn would come next? Do you recall last Thursday when you said, and I'm quoting here, it's on page 16, and I'll go to the quote, I knew that Chiem took those people away. I did ask Chiem about it. That is, where those people were taken to. And I said, could it be me next? And I go further down, same page. This would be in Khmer, by the way, 00804561. English, 00806505. In French, 00806389-91. When Pong asked Chiem to take people from the MFA, Chiem came and took those people out. When Chiem returned, I asked him, with my fear, where those people were taken to. And he told me that those people were taken from him further, and he did not know where they were taken to, ultimately. And I go and further down, on the same answer, he says, so I thought to myself, if that continued to happen that way, one day there could be my turn. That is what I meant. Further down on the same page, he says, my feeling at the time pushed me to say that. I invite you to consider whether I was serious at the time, but I was being frank. I said it that way because I did not want to be perceived that I was threatening Chiem for him to answer to my question. So I said it that way. Well, one day it could be my turn. That meant I was being cautious at the time. And then if we go to Khmer 00804563, English 00806508, and then French 6393. Part of his answer is, in my talk with Chiem, as I said, was done very cautiously. If I was spotted talking to Chiem, or to be close with Chiem, when he was executing the orders from Pong, I could be in danger. So people around me might have the feeling that I had something to do with Pong, or whether I was connected to the fact that people were taken out by Chiem. So I thought about all these things, and I was worried. Let me ask you, witness, was So Hong correct when he said that while you were at the foreign ministry, you were still under Pong when it came to security matters? That he was still your superior?
Response. As I subsequently stated, starting from the time that I came to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, my first superior was Ieng Sari, and my second superior was Bong Sohong. These two would give me instructions, and I would abide by their instructions. According to what you just read, that is from Hong, that I was under the supervision of Pong, but that is not correct. I already stated the fact. Ieng Sari already stated he was the top person, and then So Hong. And that we had to communicate through these lines of hierarchy. And that's how the daily chores were done. However, as you touch upon the issue of security, and in regards to Pong, I already stated my position this morning. Pong would assign people and a track to come and pick up those people who were already decided to be taken by Ieng Sari. And I was not under any instructions from Pong at all at that time.
All right. And in your statement, did you ever say anything about any lists of names that were provided to you by Mr. Ieng Sari? Or are you just saying this for the very first time? Because you've given a couple of statements, and there's nothing in your statements about that.
The President, witness, please wait until we decide on the objection by the prosecution. Prosecution, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. The answer I heard, he indicated that Ieng Sari had decided on people. I didn't hear about lists. Perhaps I missed that. But more to the point, if Mr. Carnavas wishes to ask him or show him a part of his prior statement that he believes is inconsistent, he can do that. I think it's an improper question to ask a witness to try to remember everything that he said in 2 days of 2 prior interviews. So on those 2 bases, we'd object to the question.
Mr. President, I can't show him something that's not there. That's the point. For the very first time, the gentleman is making this assertion, and I can understand why he's making it. So for me to show him his statements would not assist. I can rephrase, however. I'll rephrase the question.
President, you may rephrase your question, counsel, because the question, your previous question has been objected and the objection is sustained. So please rephrase your question, and witness, you do not need to respond to the previous question. And counsel, I believe for your subsequent questions, you do not need to rely on that line of questions of yours that has been objected.
Witness, is your testimony today under oath that So Hong is incorrect when he stated, quote, while Comrade Chiem was at the was at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and although he was your subordinate, was his superior, still Pong, at least when it came to security matters, and when So Hong says Pong was still your superior, are you claiming here today under oath that that's an incorrect statement?
Mr. President.
President, the prosecution, you may proceed.
I regret that I have to be getting on my feet repeatedly, but that's the exact same question he just asked. It's repetitive.
It is not the exact question. I want a clear answer. Was Pong still his superior? Yesterday, the gentleman unequivocally said he had nothing to do with security matters. Today, he's come in with a slightly different answer. And I read that part to him yesterday. Now, earlier today, he said that yesterday he had problems with his memory, which is why he could not remember from 2 years ago an entire interview that he conducted. Today, he tells us that he's feeling much better. He had good sleep. He's fresh. So today, he's being given the opportunity to answer the question.
The President, the objection and ground by the prosecution is sustained. The question is repetitive. Witness, you don't need to respond to that question by the counsel.
At this point, Mr. President, Your Honors, I'd like to look at E3/461. This is a statement by TCW 694 given on 17 December 2007, wherein the witness, TCW 694, says that P. Poon was chairman of the security section. May the statement be shown to the gentleman to see whether he identifies, without disclosing who the name is, of TCW 694.
The President, the chamber allows you to do so. However, you need to give the name of the witness from that statement to the duty counsel, so that the duty counsel can discuss and advise his client, but please keep it confidential among you and the duty counsel. So at least you give the name of that witness in the statement to the duty counsel. Court officer, could you deliver the document from the counsel to duty counsel, so that the duty counsel can get hold of the matter? And Mr. Witness, when you respond, please do not reveal the name of this particular witness. You just mention the matter being asked, not the name.
Mr. President, it might also be useful for this line of questioning for the witness to be provided with two other statements by the same witness. That would be E3/371 and E3/372. Again, it's the same witness. I can proceed with the first question, Your Honor, if the duty counsel has discussed the name and the witness understands that he is not to reveal the name in public.
The President, duty counsel, do you have any matter to raise? Duty counsel, Mr. President, Your Honors, I haven't yet discussed with my client, as I was told that more documents will be provided to my client.
Mr. President, it's the same name. It's the same name. So it would seem to me that as a matter of exercise, he need only look at the name to see whether he recognizes the name. And my first question is whether this person worked at the MFA without disclosing any further information concerning the duties of that individual.
President, witness, have you noticed the name of that particular witness on the statement yet? Response, yes, I have. That person also worked at the ministry. Counsel, you may proceed with your questions.
Thank you. Now, sir, if you could go to, it would be 00204148 in Khmer. In English, it's 00223636. And in French, it's 003446992700. It should be on the second page for everyone of this particular statement. It says here, and I'll quote, At that time, the Foreign Ministry was called B1. Mr. Ingsuri was chairman. There was a general secretary and office chairman, So Hong. The office was divided into a security section with P. Pun, alias Chiam, as chairman. Madam Sao Se was chairperson of the General Secretariat, chairperson of Protocol Section, and secretary of the party branch. The General Political Section had Ingsuri himself as the chairman, and in it were a number of intellectuals like Ok Sokun, Mr. Chun Praseth, and Mr. Keat Chun, and others. Would you agree with the characterization of you being the chairman of the security section?
Response. As I stated continuously, in the ministry, the staff under my supervision and their security were under my charge. I was only in charge of the security for the staff under my supervision.
All right. Well, were you the chairman of security?
Response. To be a chairperson in a place or an office, that would be a chairperson for everything, including the security. That person shall be in charge of the security as well. That was the arrangement at the time, and it is not possible that, okay, I was the chairman of the office and the security of that office was designated to another person. That was not the arrangement. So if I was in charge of an office, everything within that office will be under my charge as well.
Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. President, we have another statement. I don't believe that this person is on the witness list, and the document number is E3/458. And the pertinent part that I wish to refer to is 00204090 in Khmer. English is 00231697. In French, 00524348. And again, it's very similar to the previous individual. This is so I would propose that he be shown the statement, he look at the name, he can confirm whether he's aware of this individual, and then I can pose the question if that is permissible.
The President, you may proceed. Court officer is now instructed to bring the hard copy of the document to the witness for examination.
Apologies. I thought we had a copy of this already prepared. It's my error. Sir, do you recognize the name of the individual? Without telling us who the person is, do you recognize the name? Should be on the front page.
Response. I don't recall this person.
Very well. In light of that answer, Your Honor, I won't pursue the question. Thank you very much. Now let me turn to document E319. This is an excerpt from Philip Short's book, Pol Pot, A History of a Nightmare. Sir, you've indicated to us before, and it was shown to you by the prosecutor, that you gave interview statements to Philip Short. Do you recall that?
Response. I don't recall in particular portion of that.
But you will recall from a few days ago that the prosecutor showed you some quotes that are in this particular book that are attributed to you from an interview or a set of interviews that he conducted with you. Do you recall that?
Response. No, I don't.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. Do you recall giving an interview to someone a few years back who was in the process? He's a British journalist by the name of Philip Short.
Response. I don't recall this person's name, but I still recollect that a foreigner came to interview me first. Later on, there were several other interviews in 2007, 2008, but he was the first person who interviewed me.
All right, thank you very much. Now, excerpts of his book were shown to you earlier, and I want to turn our attention to Roman numeral 9, which would be the acknowledgments of this book. There's no Khmer translation, but it's one line that I want to read. It's English 00396185, where he's thanking you, among others, and he says, P. Pun, the Chief of Security at the Khmer Rouge Foreign Ministry. Now, when this individual came to interview you, was he not asking you questions concerning your position as the Chief of Security at the Khmer Rouge Foreign Ministry?
Response. I already stated time and again that I was tasked with the role as the head of the office and also at the same time was in charge of security. So I was in charge as the head of the office and security matters. However, under my supervision, I was the one who was overly in charge of my section, including security.
All right. Now, in this book, and I believe there's one passage in your statement as well, you were asked to describe your involvement when there was the shooting incident of an American journalist or professor in, I believe it was 1978. Do you recall that incident?
Response. Yes, I do, partially.
All right. Do you recall the month of that incident?
Response. I'm not quite sure, but it was perhaps in December 1978, whether it early December or mid-December of 1978.
All right. And in your statement you say late 1978. Let me ask you this. Do you recall what time this incident occurred?
Response. I'm not sure I recollect the exact time, but it was late at night. The reason that I still recollect the event because I was seeing off this professor to Bati Temple. I took him there, and I still recollect the event.
Right. Now, Philip Short, in his book, and this would be on page 394, we don't have a Khmer air number, but the English air number is 00396602. The French, it's 00639970. and the document, again, for the record, is E3/9, says that you arrived, that you, Pol Pot's former aide, P. Poon, now head of security at the Foreign Ministry, arrived with a group of guards and broke down the door. Do you recall describing to Philip Short this event, that you had arrived at the scene with a group of guards in your capacity as head of security at the Foreign Ministry?
Response. I still recollect this. Indeed, the one who broke down the door was no one else other than me myself. And the reason led to this because at the place where he had stayed, there were people, men and women, under my supervision, and the house was guarded by Y-10 military or soldiers. And So Hong's spouse told me about this. From the place of the incidents to the ministry, it was about 1 kilometer away, and it was late at night. And So Hong was also there with me at the scene. And later on, we were joined by Bong Prosit. Only 3 of us. I, myself, Bong Sao Hong, and Bong Prosit. I don't remember other people from the ministry, but the 3 people, including myself here, were the main people who were there when the doors were all locked. And since the incidents happened, we did not know who we should ask, because if I asked Bong Hong, it would not be proper. He was my superior. If I asked Bong Praset, it would also not proper because he was an intellectual. So since there was no one to help, it was I who had to take action. Without breaking down the door, we would never find out what happened. The door was difficult to break down. I pulled it hard, and I broke the glass door before entering the house. And I inspected the location. I did not see anything downstairs. But when I went upstairs, I saw the professor lying dead, falling off the bed. He was lying there next to the bed. And a soldier from Y-10 was also seen dead next to the door. And he was seen, a pistol or like a shotgun was seen placed right under his chin. And I told Bong So Hong that our guest was dead. And I also reported this to Bong Praset. And every one of us went into the room to inspect the situation. So 3 of us witnessed what happened. The soldier who guarded the location, apart from the dead soldier, there were other soldiers who were also seen there. And I indeed remember telling this to the person who interviewed me. This incident was investigated time and again, but there was no proper finding of the actual event. And then there was a case when the soldier who had an affair with a woman who shot a guest. I indeed discussed about this to the person who interviewed me back then.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that rather comprehensive answer. And my next question is, after you arrived at the scene, were you put in charge, or did you yourself, on your own, or at someone's direction, conduct an investigation?
Response. As I just indicated, So Hong's spouse learned about this and informed Brother So Hong, who was staying in the room next to me, and we, after learning this, we went there together, and I was only informed by So Hong's spouse concerning this incident. At that time, So Hong's spouse brought people, a servant who was injured during the incident. He got a shot in his leg.
For a second. I'm asking, once you went there and discovered that the professor had been killed, after that, were you involved in the investigative process, or was that carried out by someone else? That's all I want to know.
Response. After that incident, the upper echelon had ordered the investigation, and we had to conduct investigation into 4 sections. First, we investigated the Y-10 soldiers who were guarding the premises, and also we had to investigate the soldiers, the municipal soldiers. The third section of the investigation involves the investigation into the servants, my people, the people who are assigned to serve guests at that location, including men and women servants. And the fourth, investigative action was done in the among the intellectuals. Bong Prosit had worked with the professor since he had been in the country, and after these incidents, I don't know what happened at the office of 870, but at my ministry, Ieng Sari called Wang Hong and I to meet with him. We were there, and he asked us to find out the black and white side of the story. And he also confirmed that we were responsible before the party, before the organization. We, the ministry, were fully accountable for all of this.
Thank you. I had a follow-up, but I think I'll skip it. Now, as the Vietnamese were approaching Phnom Penh in January 1979, according to Philip Short, you indicated that Pol Pot called you and assigned you the task of escorting Sihanouk and his family out of Phnom Penh. Is that what happened?
Response: Yes, it is.
Just a follow-up question. Was this a personal conversation that you had with Pol Pot where he asked for you and assigned you? Or was this assignment given to you by someone else on behalf of Pol Pot, if you recall?
Response: I told the person who interviewed me on this, in fact, Ieng Sary was the one who managed things. But when it comes to evacuation, the evacuation of Thom Dach Au at that time, I don't know, because I was very afraid at that time. Bong Can came to me and said that Ta would like to meet me. When I met him, I was asked that Thom Dach Au needed to be evacuated to the west, to Sisapon, and asked how I felt. And I talked to him, saying that it was no problem, because I had my people in Kampong Chnang, and I had some people in Posat as well, and I also had some people in Battambang, and all the way to Sisapon, I had some people there as well. So he said, then I should arrange this.
All right. I guess what I really wanted to know was who ordered you, and if I understand you correctly, and please correct me if I'm misstating the evidence, it was Pol Pot himself that gave you these instructions.
Response: Yes, that's what I said just now. He directly instructed me, and from that on, Ieng Sary also told me to evacuate him. Ieng Sary managed this in more details of the evacuation. He asked me to manage this, and I was assisted by my nephew, because we had to evacuate Thom Dach Au and Thom Dach Pan Nut. They would be taken in two vehicles, two black vehicles, and the security section, as ordered by Ieng Sary, to go by a vehicle and we left Phnom Penh at 9 p.m. We reached Bat Dambong by 5 a.m.
Thank you. Now, after the fall of Phnom Penh in 79, you were made a commander shortly thereafter. Is that correct?
The President, witness, please hold on. International Co-Prosecutor, you may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. There certainly are some post-January 1979 events that may be relevant to case 002/01, but I'm not sure that the witnesses' responsibilities or positions are, so perhaps counsel has an offer of proof of the relevance of this area.
Well, the relevance, Your Honor, is if we see, for instance, from the last question, it's Pol Pot himself that calls the gentleman, obviously a close confidant and aide to Pol Pot, to take care of this very sensitive issue. When Phnom Penh falls, he then becomes a commander. So he goes from guard to head of security in MFA to all these other sensitive tasks by Pol Pot to commander. It shows the importance of this individual and who he's closely associated with. And it's part of our theory of the case.
The President, are you now testifying or you putting question to the witness? Because you appear to put the question and at the same time testifying. I think it is not appropriate. You have been allocated time to respond to the co-prosecutor before the chamber will rule accordingly.
Well, hold on, Mr. President, for 1 second. With all due respect, when there's an objection, I get to be heard. Now, you can call it whatever you wish, but I was asked to give an offer of proof as to the relevancy. I'm giving an offer of proof, and then I'm being challenged that I'm giving a closing argument. Perhaps we come from different legal traditions, but basically, I'm giving the reasons why this area of questioning is relevant. If you don't think it's relevant, then fine. But I have to give you the reasons why I'm asking the question. Without the reasons, you may not appreciate the relevancy of it.
The President, the objection and ground raised by the prosecution is sustained. Your question is not relevant to the facts charged against the accused as mentioned in the closing order. Witness, you do not need to respond to that question.
Sir, over the period of the last day or so, a few days, you said lots of things about Mr. Ieng Sary. And my question now is as follows. When you were heading towards the border in 1979 in January, were you not involved in the killing of large numbers of Cambodians, for which you were severely criticized by Mr. Ieng Sary, and for which now you're using this as an opportunity to testify the way you are?
The President, witness, you don't need to respond to this question. The question is not within the scope of the alleged facts.
That concludes my examination of the witness. However, before I sit down, I wish to bring to the trial chamber's attention that the interpreter here in this institution, Seng Pali, was present during the interviewing session of this witness when he gave his second interview. And we find it that it would be highly appropriate to get an offer of proof of what exactly happened on that second interview, how long it took, because there is a dispute as to whether it was 2 hours or 14 hours, And we think it goes to the credibility of the witness, and more importantly, since the prosecution is asking by way of motion or from the bar table that also all other statements or a great number of statements come in without the witnesses appearing, we do think that this is a highly relevant matter. But specifically concerning the second interview, because of the testimony from this witness, we ask, and before the witness leaves, so he can have an opportunity to respond, we ask that the interpreter, Seng Pali, be called and give evidence as to what happened, how long it took place, in the manner in which the summary and statement were taken, and whether this individual was actually reading into the tape recorder his answers. And we don't make this request lightly.
The President, the prosecution, you may proceed.
First of all, I don't think that anything that has emerged here warrants court personnel being brought in to be questioned. And second, I think it's inappropriate for counsel to be publicly identifying employees of the staff as potential witnesses in a public forum like this. So that's our response at this time to Mr. Carnavas's motion.
The interpreter was present.
The President, the civil party lead co-lawyer, you may proceed.
Mr. President, I simply wish to add that my esteemed colleague seems to be denying the value of the written record of interviews that were established by the co-investigating judges and those who supported their production. They figure in the closing order. They are evidence on this case file. He could have contested this during the judicial investigation, and I find it most regretful that we are having to address this matter once again today.
If I may briefly respond, it's impossible to address all these issues before the investigation because we don't know who the witnesses are. It would amount to us listening to all the tapes. This is a unique circumstance. This is a second instance that we have that we think some irregularities occurred. We're talking about a 14-minute tape. We're talking about a matter of 5 or 10 minutes of taking testimony from the very individual who was present during this meeting. The witness has indicated that his memory, initially he indicated that his memory was not clear and wanted to listen to the tape. We do have a dilemma. We do think it's important. We find it very interesting that both the summary and the tape, the transcript, are virtually identical, and we submit would be identical once you hear them in Khmer. And so we think that this is one way to look into this matter. And we think it's very, very important. It goes to the integrity of the process, and we're entitled to raise this issue because the gentleman's credibility obviously is at stake, but also his memory. And he's indicated, and we're grateful, that he's not quite certain as to what exactly happened, for how long it happened, whether documents were shown to him, and so on and so forth. So we do think that it would be useful for the trial proceedings. Thank you. And with that, Your Honors, I have no further questions. And may I add, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to question this witness.
No.
President Counsel Michael Canavas, the last issue that you just mentioned is a very critical issue. And the Chamber, after having heard your request, we consider it is not sufficient. Could you please submit your request in writing regarding the issue, the core issue, and all the relevant issues, also the legal ground, which would lead you to make such a submission in order to support it. And you also reminded that in this court, we adhere to the ECCC internal rules as well as relevant Cambodian laws for its functioning. As you understand, this is an extraordinary chamber in the court of Cambodia, and we mainly relied on the internal rules, and these have been stipulated as well in the rules and the law, as well as the code of the Cambodian criminal procedure. The time is now appropriate for a short recess. We shall take a 20-minute break and return at 3 p.m. Court officer, could you assist the witness and the duty counsel during the break and have them returned at 3 p.m.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ